our mission statement says we're only going to get better from here. As you know, all the money from our ticket sales goes directly to the Fast Camp program. That's an after-school activity held at Three Rivers School, and it costs $200 a month to attend. So hopefully our ticket sale money lets a couple of children who would not be able to go have a good time after school. The rest of our money comes from sponsorships, donations, and that's why you see all this wonderful equipment because of the generosity of our friends. I'd like to let you know that we have people who have traveled here from far and wide, not just Sun River, all the way from Minville just to see the night show. I'd also, important just to see the show. There you go. Wonderful. We couldn't have so much fun if we didn't have you here to share it with us. I would also like to give a special acknowledgement to my mom, whose today is her 91st birthday, although she said Mama has never missed a show that I've done, and here she is tonight to celebrate with me and all this wonderful cast. I'm just very pleased. I wrote my notes on my hands to make sure I didn't forget anything. And my last item is that we will be serving your dessert at intermission. We will have coffee, we will have water, and we will be serving you cheesecake. And we're going to tell you at that time if you get to take home a special present. So you'll want to stay around. Outside the doors, you know, we still have our wine bar sales. If you think, oh my goodness, I should have bought another one. Mother's Day is coming up. Also, we have our raffle. The raffle will be drawn on Sunday, and you will be notified by telephone what you won. And our last but not least, we have a mailing list. If you'd like to say, wow, I want to know when the next audition is because I want to be a star, then please sign up. And now I am so thrilled. I'm just so excited and happy to be able to present to you the Sun River Stars Community Theater's production of Oh Henry, a collection of Chukalorum.
Oh my. The girls will be here for book club any minute now, or as my friend Lettie calls it, wine club with books. Oh, right on cue, there's one now. Doors open, come on in. Hi, Christine. Hunt. I am so excited about tonight's book club. I just love O. Henry. What a great choice. I can't even choose a favorite. They're all so great. But I did try to mark some of them. Oh, and here, I brought you some flowers. Thank you very much, Lettie. You're so sweet. I'll have my grandson put them in water for us. Oh, that's right. Nice seeing with you for spring break. Yes, he loves to come to Sun River. There's always so much to do. He asked me to take him up to the stables this evening, but I had to remind him that I'm doing book club, and he was not a happy camper. He wasn't. Oh, well, I did tell him he could invite a friend over later, though. Oh, that's good. Lane, would you come here, please? Hi, Lane, hugs!
You all ready for a thrilling evening, Grandma, I see.
I sure am. It's going to be Jukalorum.
Juco, what?
Jukalorum. It's O. Henryism.
What's that?
O. Henry is the author of our book club book this month. He used it in one of his stories. It means something special, something sensational.
I thought O. Henry was a candy bar.
Lane, dear, if you only read a little bit more, he's know that O. Henry is one of the most famous American short story writers ever.
No, I don't read. I'd rather sit with the comic book and a can of soda. Go ahead and read it for me.
Come on, don't knock until you try it. Lettie and I have read the classics, we enjoy them, and we've also read a bunch of O. Henry. In fact, I'll lend you my book.
A singular sampling of sensational stories by O. Henry.
That's right. He wrote over 500 stories between 1897 and 1910. Imagine writing 500 stories in 13 years. That's pretty sensational. It sure is.
I just don't see what could be so sensational about some stuff you'll knock.
I'll bet you'd rather read J.K. Rowling or something like that. Here, would you put these in water for me? There's a vase right there on the back table. Excuse me, Lettie. And he's not stuffy. He's great. He uses all this verbal trickery and comic invention. He's wonderful. Yes, and he's also famous. He's also famous for his surprise endings. He's also famous for being quintessentially American, and maybe with the exception of Mark Twain, is our most typical American short story writer.
So why the name O. Henry?
It's a pseudonym.
What's that?
A pen name. A pen name. Yeah. They say he got it from listening to the family call the cat. Oh, Henry. Yeah, I'm trying to tell you. Oh, Henry has a great sense of humor.
Well, what was his real name then?
He was born William Sidney Porter on September 11, 1867. He was born in Greensboro, North Carolina. His father was a middle-class alcoholic doctor, and his mom died of tuberculosis when he was 3 years old.
That sucks.
Yeah, well, he was raised by an aunt who gave him a basic education and encouraged him to read, which he did.
Good for him.
And at 15, he was apprenticed to a pharmacist, and he became one himself at 19. And at 20,
What are you, his biographer?
at 20, the doctors did not like the sound of his lungs and told him to move to Texas. And so he did. And he worked on sheep and cattle ranches for a while. That would be enough to make me look for a desk job. Yeah, that's what he did. He tried his hand as a banker, a sketch artist, a draftsman. He even tried his hand as a humor columnist for the Houston Post. But then, bad luck.
O. Henry, the bad one from Texas.
Well, he was indicted for embezzling funds from the bank. He was tried and sentenced to 5 years at Ohio State Penitentiary. Yeah, he was pretty embarrassed by the whole thing, too. He sure was. But he tried to make the best of the situation. And while he was still in jail, he began writing stories based on his own life experiences. And since he didn't want to publish under his own name,
You take the pseudonym O. Henry.
right, you are a smart duck after all.
Whack.
But then, good luck came his way.
The O. Henry biographer continues.
That's right. He was released from prison after 3 years, and he moved to New York City, which he called Baghdad on the subway. It was a real cultural awakening for him. He took that local characters and local people, and he used them to flavor his stories. Thank you, thank you. New York was really a cultural awakening for him, and he had this explosion of creativity. But in the end, his health really suffered there, and in under 10 years, he died. Yes, June 5th, 1910.
So he wasn't even 48 yet?
Look who's the math whiz.
It's a skill.
Think he would have done if he only lived longer. Oh, Lettie, would you like some more wine? Sure. Yes, but where did I put my wine glass? Oh, Lettie, you are always losing your wine glass. I always lose everything. Just ask my husband. Well, I have a present for you. Got it for just such a It's so you won't lose your wine glass anymore. There's a lady in our church who makes them, and I got it for you for just such an occasion. That's great. Thank you. So, this is how we do it. And now you have no excuses. cowboys and prospectors, shop girls and starving artists, cashiers and waitresses,
Bums and cab drivers, parents and neighbors, young lovers and old folks. He had real sympathy for those people.
He really did, and I think that's really the beauty of his work, because he wrote about how life was truly lived in the 20th century. People are still really interested in that.
Yep, he really captured human nature.
I just don't see we could be so jubilorum about a couple of short stories.
All right, come here. We have time before the girls come. So come over here. Move this chair closer. Pick up that book. And we'll share some of our favorites with you. No, the book. Okay, what are we going to do first?
Well, the first one we can do is The Ransom of Red Mack.
From his Heart of the West collection.
Right, it takes place right outside the sleepy little town of Pena, Colorado, and goes to show how friendship can sometimes take a strange turn.
When romance is involved.
Lettie, would you pass me the cheese?
Sure.
Hello there.
Well, howdy, ma'am. Good to see you.
Good to see you
You're
too.
looking fine today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a beautiful day.
It is that. That's it.
Mack, gosh darn it, is this you?
Well, howdy, Andy, old boy. I'm glad to see you back from New Mexico. I'll tell you, Andy, a lot of things been happening around here in the 2 months you've been gone.
I can see that. And a sacrilegious sight you are, too. God never made you like that, Mack Loganberry. Now, why do you scarify his works with this ridiculous look of revolvery?
Well, I tell you, Andy, the citizens of Pena have elected me justice of the peace.
I can't believe my eyes. When I left, you was shabby and comfortable, sitting on the porch in your rocking chair with your feet propped up and reading Buckle's History of Civilization. You was the picture of contentment.
Well, I'm still content, Andy.
Mack, didn't you and I spend 3 years working hard together in the little hide-and-seek mine?
Yeah, we did that.
And then we haul out $40,000 apiece in gold and decide to spend a little money and enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, we did that.
And then we buy this elegant 2-bedroom house and hire us a Chinese cook that could mess up the atmosphere with the handsomest smell of ham and eggs that ever laid the honeysuckle in the shade.
Yeah, well, there's no question about it, Andy. Riches have brought us happiness.
And ain't we spent many a cool, dark evening lighting our pipes and talking about science and pearl diving and sciatica and Egypt and a whole lot of other topics we ain't never had the time to express our sentiments about before?
You're right, Andy. I'll tell you, we have been self-indulgent without vulgar ostentation.
And why'd you all gush it up like this?
Well, afternoon, Miss Rebosa.
Afternoon, Mr. Lonsberry.
Yeah.
Good to see you too.
Oh, surely you ain't a hankering after women at your age. You always told me you let your chance go by.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did. You also asked me once if I was aware of the habits of women folks. And I told you I was well aware of feminine nature. Why, their little 5 steps is as clear to my sight as the Rocky Mountains is to a blue-eyed girl. And I warned you about it. I told you it takes a man like me who understands women to get along in this here world.
Well, I tell you what, Andy. Tonight, I'm gonna marry Miss Rebosa. I tell you, I think she's a living angel right here on earth. Don't you agree, Andy?
Marry Miss Rebosa? Tonight? Miss Rebosa? Miss Rebosa? Miss Rebosa, wait! Miss Rebosa? I understand you to be married tonight.
Correct. You got any objections?
Why, that gussied up old turkey gobbler with the patent leather shoes is my best friend. Now why'd you go get him invested in this marriage?
Why, he was the only chance there was.
Old Mack ain't the kind of fellow you'd want. Why, he was 32 when you was born. He's all ventilated with oldness and decay. Are you really bent on having this marriage occur?
Why, sure I am. And so is somebody else, I reckon.
What time is this to take place?
Why, it's 6 o'clock at my house.
I'm gonna save old Mack if I can. Why, just busting into sudden bloom is more than I can look on with easiness. I will draw on my immense knowledge of women. Miss Rebosa, ain't there some nice young fella in town you take a hankering to?
Why, sure there is. What do you think? Gracious.
And then
He's crazy about me too. And Mom has to wet down the front steps to keep him from sitting there all the time. Guess that'll be all over after tonight.
then you don't really experience it in this adoration called love with old Mack, does you?
Why, no. I think he's as dry as a lava bed. The idea.
Then who's this young fella you like?
Eddie Bales. He clerks at Crosby's grocery. Bet he don't make about $35 a month.
So if Eddie Bales had $1,000 in cash and could buy a store all of his own, would you consent to marry him at 5 o'clock tonight?
Would I marry Eddie Bales at 5 o'clock tonight for $1,000? Of course I would.
I will write out a check for $1,000. When you and Eddie is married, I'll hand it to you.
Oh, please, don't wake me up. You must be some rich uncle retired from this spice business with India. Eddie will buy out Mr. Crosby and run that store himself. 5 o'clock, did you say?
5 o'clock, and it's almost time, so you better hurry. I did it! I saved old Mack from his attack of Indian summer. He'll be great once he gets out of that stiff suit and those patent leather shoes, and we'll be back to the cabin, just Mack in his history book and rocking chair, and me and my banjo and that Chinese cook and the ham and eggs. To keep him disemboweled from late relapses like this is worth more than $1,000 a day. I'm sure glad I made me a study of women. Now all I gotta do is kill time for half an hour or so, and then mosey on in and see old Mack. Why, Mack, you don't look like you're getting ready for no wedding at 6 o'clock.
Well, Andy, the wedding was moved up to 5 o'clock. It's all over. You know,
heard about the wedding?
Heard about it? Well, I performed it.
You did what?
I performed it. I told you, I'm the justice of the peace here, didn't you? The local preacher, well, he's out of town, he went out east someplace. So I'm the only one in town who can perform the dispensations and all in matrimony. Well, I promised Eddie and Mr. Rebosa I'd marry him, well, maybe a month or so ago, I told him that. You know, Andy, he is a smart young lad and she's a bright young woman. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if one day they have a store all of their own.
Yeah, they sure will.
You know, Andy, there were lots of women folk at the wedding, but I didn't get any ideas from any of them. I just wish I was as informed about the structure of their attainments as you is, Andy.
That was a couple of months ago, Matt. I ain't as informed as I thought I
That was quite a misunderstanding. When Mack said he was going to marry her, he only meant he was going to conduct a ceremony. But Andy, oh dear.
Yeah, I saw that one coming.
Oh, that little twist didn't fool you? Okay, well, we have another one for you. This one takes place on a train. The B&M Express, to be exact. Traveling east from Denver to Kansas City. Two young people meet and try to renew an old acquaintance.
This one's called Hearts and Hands.
That's it. It's about this young woman who, well, let's see for ourselves. Enter a train with 5 passengers coming on board. First, this young Miss Fairchild, followed by Miss Alura who's traveling back east to visit her aunt. And then comes Mrs. Wesley, who's a bit of a busybody, keen-eyed, alert to everything that's going on around her. Then come the 2 men passengers, Mr. Easton and a man whose name we don't know. They are handcuffed together. Mr. Easton's right hand is handcuffed to the other man's left hand, and they take a seat opposite Miss Fairchild. The train begins to bump along. Easton keeps his eyes on the ground, while the other man sort of watches Miss Fairchild out of the corner of his eye.
Why, Mr. Easton, I declare, if you'll make me speak first, I suppose I must. Don't you recognize old friends when you see them in the West?
I beg your pardon. It's Miss Fairchild, of course. How nice to see you again. I'll have to ask you to excuse the other hands then. Isn't he engaged at the moment?
Oh, dear.
Don't be afraid, it's quite all right.
But what does this mean, Mr. Easton?
You'll excuse me for speaking up, miss, but I see you're acquainted with the marshal here.
Marshal?
Yes, miss, and if you'll ask him to put in a good word for me when we get to the penitentiary.
Penitentiary?
Yes, miss. The marshal's taking me to Leavenworth Penitentiary. 7 years for counterfeiting.
Oh, counterfeiting. Well, I'm sure he'll put in a good word for you, if you deserve it. So that's what you're doing out west, Mr. Easton. You're a marshal.
My dear Miss Fairchild, I had to do something. Money has a way of taking wings, and don't you know it takes money to keep step with our crowd? Now, Marshall isn't quite a high position as that of an ambassador. But...
Oh, the ambassador doesn't call on me anymore. And I'm glad he doesn't. I wouldn't mind if you called me again when you're back in Georgia.
You would.
Oh, yes, Mr. Easton. So now you're one of those wild, dashing heroes that rides and shoots and gets into all kinds of dangers? That's very different than our lives growing up.
Yes, it is.
We miss you back there, the old crowd. Those handcuffs must be terribly uncomfortable.
Oh, don't be bothered by these, miss. All marshals handcuff themselves to the prisoners to keep them from getting away. Mr. Easton here, he knows his business.
Will we see you again soon in Georgia, Mr. Easton?
No, I'm afraid not, Miss Fairchild. I have some commitments that will keep me here in the West for quite a while.
I just love the West. Mama and I spent the summer in Bend. She went home a week ago because father was slightly ill, but I stayed on a while. I wouldn't mind staying a while longer. I think the Western air agrees with me. Money isn't everything, you know.
I am sorry, Miss Fairchild. I do wish things could be different.
Excuse me, Marshal. I haven't had a thing to eat all day. Suppose you could take me into the dining car for some supper? We're still a long way from Leavenworth.
Well, duty calls. I can't deny a petition for food. It's the only friend of the unfortunate, and I'm a bit hungry myself.
It really is a shame you're going back to Georgia. Must you go to Leavenworth?
I'm afraid so. Goodbye, Miss Fairchild.
Goodbye.
Then,
Marshall's a good sort of chap. Some of these Western fellows are all right.
Yes, and Mr. Easton's quite young for such an important office, don't you think?
Easton? Why, my dear, didn't you catch on to that little scene?
See?
Surely you noticed what was going on.
Well, whatever do you mean?
Oh, I feel sorry for you, dear. But surely you know as well as I that an officer of the law never handcuffs a prisoner to his right hand.
Yeah, old Henry sure does like to throw in those twists, doesn't he?
Twists? That was more like a pretzel.
Aha, I see, he got you that time. Hey, I think I'll have one of those.
No, I was all over it. I saw that one a mile away.
Oh, you did? We'll see about that. Christine, do you have any more red wine? Or do you have any red wine? Oh, sure, I get this. I have some red wine. Why don't you come with me and pick out a bottle that you like? And we'll leave Lennon here to read some more chapters on his own. We'll see what he thinks about the next one. What old Henry would do with a typical day in the park. Yeah. Let me get well. Let me show you what we've got. Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
So nice to see you.
He's getting so big.
Don't they run so fast, don't they?
They seem, you hungry. You too. Bye. Obviously not.
Well, Bob Shaw said it. Also,
You may sit down if you'd like, sir. Really, the light is bad with reading, and I'd much rather talk.
today I'm going to say it.
Say what?
You're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. I've had my eye on you for 3 weeks now. Couldn't you tell I was knocked out by your eyes, your face, your figure?
Whoever you are, please remember I'm a lady. I will excuse the last remark, as this mistake is probably a common one in your circle.
I didn't mean to upset you.
I asked you to sit down, but if the invitation makes you act familiar, then consider it withdrawn.
It's all my fault, really. I've been here for the last couple of weeks, and I've seen so many girls in this park. Well, I've come here today to, well, you know what I mean.
Abandon the subject if you please. What do you think about the people who pass by here? Where are they going? Why are they in such a hurry? Are they happy?
It is interesting to watch them, isn't it? It's the wonderful drama of life. Some are going home, some are, well, one wonders what their history is.
I do not wonder. I am not so inquisitive. The only reason I come here is to be near the great common throbbing heartbeat of humanity. My heart in life is cast where the heartbeat of a common person is never felt. Can you surmise why I spoke to you, Mr.
Packenstacker, Herbert Packenstacker, and you are?
Oh no, you recognize it immediately. It's impossible to keep one's name out of print these days, or even one's picture. I purposely wore a waitress outfit so I could go about incognito. You should have seen my chauffeur stare at it when he thought I wasn't looking.
Your chauffeur?
To be perfectly frank, there are 5 or 6 names that belong to the holies of holies and mine. By the accident of birth, I regret to say, is one of them.
So you belong to the upper class?
I've seen you in this park before, but today I spoke to you, Mr. Sticking-Pot, simply because.
Packenstacker.
Mr. Packenstacker, simply because I want to talk to one true common ordinary man. A man unspoiled by the despicable gloss of wealth. You just don't know how sick I am
Of what?
of money. Money, 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 and men who have it. They surround me like marionettes, cut from the same pattern. I'm sick of endless parties, of expensive jewels, of high society. I'm sick of luxuries of all kinds.
Well, I've always had the impression that money was a pretty good thing to have.
A reasonable amount. But when one has so many millions...
But with money, you can afford to do so many things.
You can't possibly know how monotonous it is. Dinners, theaters, dances. The monotony of wealth soils every pleasure. Do you know that that noisy little tinkle of ice cubes in my champagne glass drives me utterly mad?
Ice cubes in champagne. I've read about the life of fashionable people, and I've always had the impression that champagne was cool in the bottom.
How naive. Fashionable people depend on the departure of precedent for their amusement. The latest fad is to put ice cubes in champagne.
Well, that's news to me.
No doubt.
Are there any other new fads?
Yes, the newest fad, when serving dinner, is to place a glove of green color alongside the spoons.
A glove of green color?
To put on your hand.
Why?
So without soiling your dainty fingertips, you can pick up a green olive and put it in your mouth.
I don't get it.
Of course, you wouldn't. You would just pick the olive pit out of your mouth with your bare fingers.
Are there any other new fads, or? I suppose a girl like you has lots of men friends.
Oh, yes, but they're all so boring.
All of them?
All of them. Well, all of them except for 2. The Duke is very interesting. More interesting than the Count. He has a wife somewhere. I think he drove her mad with his intemperance and cruelty.
The Count?
The Duke! The Count is just after my money.
So, you're thinking of marrying him?
Sometimes I think maybe I could only love a man of lowly station, a commoner, not a nobleman. What is it that impels me to tell you these things, Mr.
Packenstacker, please. You have to understand that I appreciate all your confidences.
What is your line of business, Mr.
Packenstacker, I work in a restaurant.
Oh, not as a waiter, I hope. Labor is noble, but personal, servile attendants like valets and all that.
No, I'm a cashier in that restaurant over there.
That restaurant? I would certainly call that a humble station. Why aren't you working now?
I'm on the night shift. I don't start until 6, and well, I still have a half an hour.
You mean it's 5:30? Oh dear, I must go.
Oh, but will I see you again?
I don't know, perhaps, but this whim of speaking to a stranger may never seize me again. I have dinner to go to, then a box seat at the theater. Well, the same old boring rounds.
But please, I would really like to see you again.
That won't be necessary. Perhaps you didn't notice that automobile in the upper corner of the park. The long white one?
With the purple running boards?
Yes, I always come here in that. I make my chauffeur wait for me there. He thinks I'm shopping at the department stores across the square. Think of living a life which makes it necessary to deceive even one's own chauffeur.
But please, I insist you let me walk you to your car.
If you have the slightest regard for my wishes, you remain at this bench for 10 minutes after I have left. You must know that automobiles generally bear the monograms of their owners.
Mazie, application. I've been waiting on your table since 5 o'clock. I thought you were sick, and here you are loafing.
Hazel? I beg your pardon, I don't think we've been properly introduced.
I'll introduce you all right. Maybe do your work. Keep it up, or I'll introduce you to Mr. Bruno in the unemployment office.
Really, Mr. Packenstacker, I don't know who this woman thinks I am.
Packenstacker. There must be some mistake.
There is. See that restaurant across the street? Unless Mazie takes over her tables in 5 minutes, she'll be out of a job. Hurry, honey, Mr. Bruno's running out of patience.
Nothing has changed as far as I'm concerned. I'd really like to see you again.
You lied to me. You don't work over there at all. You've been in this park every day for weeks staring at me. You probably don't even have a job. You're probably just a common loafer.
I can explain. I've been here every day for 3 weeks, and I've been meaning to talk to you, and, well, today I finally did, and I brought this today to...
Don't bother to lie. I wouldn't speak to you again if you were a king.
But, Mazie, please.
If you ever come near me again, I'll scream for a cop. I mean, an officer of the law. Good day, Mr. Packenstacker.
But, Mazie... Trash. Why does she have to chop my head to pieces?
Mr. Wellington, sir, your car is ready. There's dinner at the club, you know. You still have to dress. I'm sorry you didn't have any luck, sir. I heard everything from over there.
I'll be along in a minute, Pierre. Just wait for me in the car. Dinner at the club. The monotony of it.
Mr. Bruno fired me because I was late. It is all your fault.
I'm sorry.
What am I going to do? I haven't a penny savings.
Well, the solution is simple. All you have to do is marry me.
Oh, fine solution. Marry a man who has to rubbish through garbage cans.
I've got plenty of money. I've got plenty of money.
Sure. You must make a fortune returning empty bottles.
Gold, diamonds, oil, stuff like that. Look at this. An article entitled, "Could Love Be an Accident?"
Don't think you're fooling me. Let me see that. Do you think it could really happen, Mr. Stickin' Parker?
I mean, Sticker Parker. Hot sticker? It doesn't matter. My real name is Wellington. Herbert Samuel Wellington III.
Sure, and I'm the Queen of England.
No, really. I'm Herbert Samuel Wellington III. My father was Herbert Samuel Wellington Jr., and my grandfather was Herbert
I
Samuel...
get the picture, but I don't believe you. The Wellingtons don't rummage through garbage cans.
Well, you know that car you said was yours, the long white one with the purple running boards?
Yeah.
Well, it's mine. Pierre.
Yes, Mr. Wellington, sir.
Would you please tell Miss Applegate who I really am?
Mr. Wellington is, Mr. Wellington.
You mean he's for real?
Yes, miss.
Oh my gosh. And he wants to marry me, Mrs. Wellington?
He seems to want that, miss.
But after the way I acted, I can't understand it.
To be very frank, I can't understand it myself.
He must think I'm a terrible liar.
I should think so, yes.
No.
And a worse pretender.
And now you'll say?
Oh, I don't know.
Please. You don't expect me to believe all that stuff you said about not wanting any money, do you?
Mr. Wellington, what do you think I am, a pretender? Do you think I was just pretending when I said I could only love a man of lowly station? Do you think I'm deliberately seeking a life of endless parties, expensive jewelry, of high society? Oh, Mr. Wellington, you wrong me so much.
Oh no, Miss Applegate, please. I would never doubt your sincerity.
Thank you, sir.
Daisy, I want you to be my wife. I want it so badly I hurt. Right here.
But Mr. Wellington,
I know. Marriage to a man of wealth would bore you. So what if I have money? So what if I have money? You know what? I'll go find a job. I'll go work for Mr. Bruno. He's got the lowliest positions in town.
now what have I done?
You seem to have made what is called a tactical error.
Why did I do it? Why?
I don't know. You seem to have the amazing ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Pierre, please help me.
I shall try, but only because it will make Mr. Wellington happy.
Why is this trash barrel so popular with Mr. Wellington?
Mr. Wellington came to the park today with a ring in his pocket. A huge, dazzling diamond ring. It's somewhere in this can.
But how to get in there?
He threw it away when you turned him down. I watched him over there.
Oh, we just gotta find it. We just gotta. Oh. It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful ring I ever saw.
I think the ownership of this ring is now, shall we say, undecided.
Yeah, you said you'd help me.
It looks as though you'll need some help.
Mazie, I failed. I tried to prove I was worthy of you, and I proved exactly the opposite. I'm not worthy of you.
Why do you say that?
Mr. Bruno threw me out. He asked me to display my experience as a waiter, and I spilled beef stew into a lady's lap. It wouldn't have happened if she ordered the goose liver on pumpernickel.
I'm so sorry.
So am I, more than you know. I can see why you wanted me to prove myself to you, Mazie. I'm a failure, an utter failure. Thank you for helping me see myself as I really am. An incompetent. A rich incompetent. Goodbye, Mazie. Come on, Pierre.
Wait! At least you tried. You are entitled to my sympathy for having tried.
I couldn't let you sacrifice yourself.
You're unhappy and it's my fault. It's all my fault.
But really, I couldn't let you sacrifice yourself. I couldn't let you do that.
You can get a job someplace else.
No, even if I did, job, I wouldn't be able to keep it. I'm too used to taking care of my investments. Well, those are all over the world.
In far-off romantic places?
No, just places like the Bahamas, Hawaii, Paris, places like that.
We'd have to go there often?
Quite often, I'm afraid, but I'm sure you'd be bored.
I'll have to put up with it.
And put up with my failure?
You're not a failure.
But you said you'd be bored.
Sure, I'll be bored shopping for new dresses every week. Ugh. Dances, traveling, doing nothing but spending money. I'll have to stand it for your sake.
You mean you'd put up with me, change your whole way of living?
You can't live my life, then I'll have to live yours, no matter what sacrifice I have to make.
Mazie, you've made me the happiest man in the world.
You can give it to me now, Pierre.
Pardon?
The ring. I guess I'll have to get used to boxes full of expensive jewelry.
Mazie, you made me the happiest man in the world. I don't know if I'll be able to resist buying you all the beautiful things I can afford. Necklaces, earrings, bracelets.
So what if I do get bored, as long as buying me things doesn't bore you, dear? What matters is your happiness, not mine.
Mazie, you made me the happiest man in the world.
We have to hurry, dear. Pierre is waiting. We have dinner to go to, then a box seat at the theater, and well, the same old boring round. Oh, the boredom of it all.